live button. You just got the...
No, I don't have.
Oh, it shows us live.
Nice. We're live.
Nice.
Yeah, we sure are. We're having some technical difficulties, y'all. Dave lost his connection, and we may end up having to shut this down and start it over. It's looking like we're gonna.
I wonder if we were supposed to be going live.
I don't think we were. I don't think we were supposed to go live right now. This is only episode 53, folks. You'd think we'd have, we're still new. You'd think we'd have learned how to use this by now, but no.
Just when you get used to using it, they throw a wrench in there, make something just a little bit different.
Yep. Yep. Cannot hear you at all, Dave. We're probably going to have to shut this down and start another one. He's over here posting in the YouTube chat. This is funny. This is just outright funny.
Well, introduce yourself, Mark.
I'm Mark Lindsay, and you're not. You can catch me here on YouTube down in the comment section, over on Facebook in Too Many Groups to Count, and on Instagram and on Twitter. How about everybody else? Let's see, who's next on my right would be Trevor.
Hey, everybody. Trevor Carter, Trevor's Woodshop. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the fun social media under Trevor's Woodshop.
All right. How about you, Mike?
I am Mike Mertzke, Mertzke Custom Woodworking. You can find all of my links over at my website, mertzkecustomwoodworking.com.
Oh, boy. Okay. Hear everyone else. Okay. Can't hear or see Dave, but we can hear everybody else. How about you, Jerry?
Somebody was just saying in the chat a second ago they're not hearing anybody.
Well, Alan H. says he hears everyone else. Jerry Brown says he hears everyone else.
Okay. Thumbs up.
Well, I'm Jerry Blake from Jerry's Machines. You can find me on any social media and YouTube under Jerry's Machines. And thanks for having us, Dave.
Yeah. And we'll just skip over Dave since he wants to be antisocial and go over to Becca.
Hi there, I'm Becca Miller. You can find me on Facebook, and I actually have a YouTube channel that has one video on it, so you can look out there too. Maybe I'll get some more up pretty soon.
Thanks, Becca.
Sure.
Yeah, folks, this is probably going to end badly, and then we'll have to set it up again and probably post links back over on Facebook. Dave's having a technical problem on his end. Don't know what's going on, but if you can hang with us, we're trying to fix it. Don't know when we decided to go live, but we'll figure something out.
In the meantime, start getting your questions together for Mark about what add-ons or what you've added on to your CNC, or what you would like to see someone add on to their CNC.
That's an excellent point. If you have any kind of questions about wanting to hook something up to your CNC, or have something hooked up and would like to just do a little bit of bragging about it, put it over here in the YouTube chat and we'll do some talking. Other than that, if you have any questions at all for us, we'll take them while we get this figured out.
Mike, how's that fourth axis coming on yours?
Well, it's funny you mention that because I've got all the pieces in and I'm not home in my shop to be able to put it together.
Oh man.
I saw you completely
Some people-
redid the panel.
Yeah, I'm still working on a little bit of that stuff. Just with kind of cleaning up the wiring and stuff like that.
Hey, Mike, for those people that aren't following you on Facebook or the forum, why don't you just tell us what you've added to your machine, because you've added a whole bunch of cool stuff.
Okay, I haven't quite finished yet. Still working on them, but I was running the UC100 with the Xylotex, standard Xylotex 4-driver box. So I'm in the process of trying to add a 4th axis. So in that, I also decided to kind of combine what I had, my own kind of box that with all my kind of extra stuff in it that was in conjunction with the Xylotex box, and combine them together. And then, add a few other bells and whistles. So I'm in the process of kind of redoing the driver board. I'm actually just ordered a different 4-driver board that I'll be adding to the box. I'm also upgrading to the UC400, which is Ethernet instead of USB. And then I'm also adding a 5th axis, which will control the rotary axis for that. So kind of in the process of doing all the rewiring. And
No.
Dave came in and Mertzke.
Well, we got Dave back, and
Welcome to
Okay,
the
can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Okay, where am I? I don't know.
welcome to the CNC with Dave show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
If you'd like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Man, I think tomorrow I'm going to Best Buy or somewhere. I don't know what the heck is going on. I started this thing. When did I send you the link, Mike? About 8:15 or something like that, and we get it all going, and we get to playing around with these lower thirds because I got those working again. And I don't know what the heck, but right when we get ready to start the show, and you guys, it was cracking me up because you guys kept saying, "Well, I don't know what happened today," but I was right here. I could hear everything you said, but apparently y'all couldn't hear me. So, yeah, welcome to your show, Dave. Thank you, Brett. It's good to be here. All right, let's get this puppy rolling. I guess y'all have already done introductions and all that without me. Okay, well, we're going to talk about.
I don't know how it went live, but suddenly it went live, and we're standing here with deer in the headlights, going, okay, what do we do?
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys kept talking and saying, well, we can't hear Dave, and I was right here, and I could, I knew my camera was still working, all that was going, so I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and hit live and see what happens. Anyway, we'll try to limp through this one again. Good Lord. Get tired. And I'm even on the computer I finally ended up getting to work last week. That's the one I'm using this week, thinking that the problem was with that other computer, but I don't know. Anyhow, we'll get this thing going here. I know y'all have done introductions, and Michael was talking about his add-ons and stuff, and we'll get back to you in just a second, Mike. Wanted to mention a few things right up front here. Again, I want to mention the Gofundme campaign for Tim at Dumpster CNC. There's a link down in the show description. If you can afford a couple of bucks, please send it his way. He's him and his wife are still trying to dig out. If you go to the www.dumpstercnc.com, you'll see the mess he got when his house and shop got hit with that tornado. So anything you can do to help out there, folks, appreciate it. Also, real quick, next week, I was going to tell you this tonight. This week's show is brought to you by Doug Green, because Doug Green is the one that put the show topic suggestion over there in the community forum. So that's he was wanting to talk about add-ons, accessories, bells and whistles, whatever you want to call them. So that's why we're doing this show tonight. And also next week, he also suggested this too. And we're going to go ahead and talk about this on next week's show. We're going to talk about what do you do when you get done cutting something with a CNC? How do you finish it, paint it, stuff like that. So, maybe talk about doing some double-sided cutting, different things like that. So that'll be next week. And then May 27th, which is 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to do another one of those show and tell shows. So if you're making something cool on your CNC, send me a picture. Don't send me like 14 projects you've done the last year and a half, just one or two, and we'll maybe give away some shirts or hats or fast cap stuff or something when we do that. So okay, so we're going to talk about add-on stuff to spend money on. I got a list of stuff, and I know you guys already got kind of started talking about stuff, and I do want to get back to Mike because he's like the king of add-ons. I think he's probably got a coffee maker hooked up to his now or something. But
that's part of the satisfaction.
Yeah, I figured that's what you wanted it for, to tilt that pot, or something, to pour a cup of coffee. But I'm not really big on add-ons. It took, I ran these things for years before I ever even decided to do some wire management. And when I say wire management, I'm talking kind of about this stuff here. I just brought a little piece in. This stuff works great. It's cheap. I think this is what Mike used on his 15 by 30. I think a lot of people use that. And there's lots of room to get lots of wires in there. So if you do decide to run some drag chain or whatever you want to call this stuff, don't plan ahead. In other words, if you think you might want to run some accessories later that need to go in there, make sure you get one big enough to handle the wires, because it gets crowded in there real quick, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, and the nice one about that drag chain is you can actually pop those tabs off. So even if later on, like right now, I'm going through and I'm rewiring my entire machine, so I can actually just pop those tabs off and access the drag chain without having to try to run wire through them again.
Yeah, that's one reason why I like these is, like Mike said, you can just pull these little things off. The only thing I have found is when you pop them off, sometimes then I have one on one of mine out there that just will not stay on. It keeps falling off all the time. And I think the last time it fell off, I sucked it up in the shop vac or something. So, but yeah, these things are really handy. They're cheap. I think this 15 by 30, if I remember right, on Amazon was about 10 or 12 bucks for 1 meter, which is, for you non-metric folks, that's about 39, almost 40 inches. So really, really cheap way to do it. Another thing a lot of folks like to add, and Mike, I guess I might as well get back to you and let you, because I feel like I interrupted you.
Dave?
Yes.
Dave, for real dummies like me, how do you put the drag chain on there? I mean, I don't even know how that would go on.
Well, I just brought this little section, but it comes with a little piece here that's got a tab on it that's got a couple of holes. And when I did mine, I just took I had some leftover aluminum angle, and I just took 2 angles and, put a hole on the end of them, screwed them to a board, and used that angle to make a tray. and then I just screwed this where that hole is to the little block of wood to hold it on that end, and and then just curled this one up and screwed it into a little block of wood I put on the side of my upright. So it's not. I hope I'm not fixing to go out here again. I see I've got some kind of weird stuff popping up on my screen over here.
Ah, you look fine.
Okay, well, let me close out this Facebook here and get rid of that. Make sure that maybe it'll keep working. But no, they're not hard to install. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can. Because like I said, I was bad about letting my wires just drag all over the place. Another thing too, I might mention, if you get like the Xylotex kit or really any, whatever you're getting, you got to plan ahead because you use a lot more cable, running it through these. For example, like I think when I put my spindle on, I used like about 30 feet worth of cable, even though it's still pretty close. But by the time you wind it around through all these E-chains or drag chains or whatever you call them, you can use up a lot of stuff. So Mike, why don't you go let's get back to you and you tell us about, because next thing I had on my list was limit/homing switches, and I know you've put those on your machine, and I want to hear all about it.
Where to begin? One moment I realized there was a thing called a breakout board, and it just went downhill from there. No, but seriously, so I guess I'd like to preface the add-on thing, kind of like you were saying, Dave. You don't need everything. Like you can mill and you can run a CNC and it works great without all the extras, the bells and whistles, I guess.
Yeah, and I would guess, and you guys can either agree with me or not, but I think the main purpose of obviously the purpose of homing switches is to be able to get your machine to home to a certain point, and then the limit switches are basically so you don't crash the machine. That's basically from over travel. I have been running these things for years, and I still haven't put limit switches on there.
Yeah, so and that's one of them I would say that are kind of not really needed. And if I had to do it again, I probably would not add the limit switches on there. You set the homing sequence up, it'll home all 3 axes, but then depending on where you have your Z0 for your workpiece, or where your workpiece is in relation to the table, you still got to go and zero it out. So you're not saving yourself any time or anything. It's just cool because you can hit home all and you just sit there and watch it.
Yeah. It's like the big boy machines, And in case anybody's wondering, this, if you don't know what we're talking about, I've got little examples here. This is a little limit switch, and basically you wire it up so that when your machine's traveling, when it gets to I can't even hit it with my finger, it gets to a certain point, it will trip that switch and stop the machine so it doesn't crash. That's the idea anyway. These are kind of some little cheapy ones. I think these are from Xylotex, I believe is where I got these. You can get all kinds of them. Now, Mike, when you did yours, did you add an E-stop as well?
Yes, and that's something I just recently added. So I've got the pendant that gives me the ability to have the E-stop on that. Then I also, on the computer, obviously can hit E-stop on that, but wanted an actual physical, which acts as the same way. It's a switch. When you hit the little mushroom on the E-stop, it closes the switch and shuts everything down.
Yeah, and if anybody that's new out there don't know what we're talking about, this is a switch. Right now it would be in the run position, and it's just something you can just kind of smack in a hurry. You don't have, it's easier to hit this than to try to get the mouse or, whatever to click the button on the computer. And then that will stop it, and then you just twist it and it pops back out, and then you can restart everything. So this is one of the, well, I won't say nicer ones, one of the bigger ones. I did have oh yeah, here it is. I got one right here that's really little, and I thought, well, I'm not sure. I think this is Xylotex too. I think Jeff might have sent you these with those limit switches, but I bought this one off of Amazon, and as you can see, I still have not wired it up. Another one of those things that are cool to have, but I just haven't got around to doing.
On the homing part of that, would it since it's not really feasible to use it in the respect of what you were just talking about, would it not make sense to make it just go back to the back of the table out of the way somewhere, just as a convenience thing?
Yeah, I mean, you can set in the either UC-CNC or Mach 3 what you want it, where you want it to go to that home position. And you can set up, so on my X-Carve, I actually had a reference spot on the machine set up to where the front left corner of the workpiece fit into that piece. And so when I would run the homing cycle, it would go to that point. So it would home on the workpiece, but then you're limited to only using that one reference point, I guess. So that's why on the GarageWorks, I really haven't set it up that way, just because I don't want to limit myself to only referencing off of that one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see some folks over there in the chat. Don't get us wrong, folks. We're not bashing limit switches or anything. I just have never used them. I don't, for the kind of stuff I do, I don't feel like I need them, and so I'll probably never put them on that machine. But I'm not saying don't do it. I mean, a lot of guys like to trick them out and put all the bells and whistles on there, and that's cool. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. Some of the bells and whistles. Another thing that I have added, and I think is really cool. Let me see if I can get them here. These little things. I went for years always moving everything with the keyboard in Mach 3, and saw one of these on Amazon. This is I don't know who this is made by. It just says Mach 3 CNC manual remote controller. These are about $40 or so, I think, on Amazon. And after I got this, I thought, man, how did I ever live without these things? Because they're pretty cool. And like I said, this one's about $40 or so. And then recently, I purchased a little better one. And I don't know who this is made by. I just got it off Amazon. But this one's got the, the wheel. It's got the readout up here. And I got to tell you, I absolutely love this thing. I thought, after I went to that other one I showed, and then I got this one, I'm like, man, how did I ever get by without one of these? Because I guess one of the reasons when I was running my old machine out in my shop, the computer was kind of right next to the machine, so it wasn't that big a deal. I could really kind of hold my finger on the buttons and look over and see what I'm doing. But the way I do it out there in the garage, the machine I run all the time now, running the Gatton CNC kits, it's a little farther away. And this one in particular has got like a, I don't know, 10 or 15 foot cord on it. You can get this same thing with wireless if you want. I just went ahead and got one with the wire because I'm not really keen on the wireless stuff, but this works great. I love it. You can really dial it in. I guess I should do a review on this thing or something sometime, but With this little step button, you can change it from moving like an inch to 100,000ths to 10,000ths, all the way down to 1,000th of an inch. So you can really zero it in where you're trying to get.
Yeah,
I love
Bob
this thing.
Bob Heltebridle has a question about that. He has one.
Okay.
And he says it's very jumpy. Is there a way to adjust it? And he's confused about programming the buttons. And the book is all in Chinese.
Yeah, he's right. The book is all in Chinese. But what I did is when you open up that plug-in, for example, there's 5 different macro buttons on here. There's 1, 2, and 3 right here. And then down here, I don't know why it doesn't say 4 and 5. It says 6 and 7, but that's the way it is. But what I do is I have 6 and 7 set up. Well, I just right here at 1, that will zero my X. The 2 will zero my Y. The 3 will zero my Z. And then 6 is the same as if I hit the reference all button on the computer. And then 7 zeros the machine coordinates. So, I mean, it's just real easy because I can be standing over there right at the machine and just hit those and it works. And Bob, the way I did that is, like you said, it's all in Chinese. But I figured out that if you open up that plug-in and you go to what you want that button to be, and then you press it on the computer, and I use a touch screen, so I would just take my finger and hit on the touch screen, like when I put it in the box for macro 6, and then I'd just go to the screen and hit reference all home, and that's how it would set what it wanted this to be. So, but this has got a lot of cool stuff, and to me, I found this one easier to set up the way I wanted it than the little $40 one. And plus, it's got the wheel and all that. So,
Did you get that on Amazon as well?
yes, ma'am, I did. I'm an Amazon addict.
Me too.
I've got. If you want to know exactly where it's at, there's links in the description here that'll take you right to some of the stuff we're talking about. But I highly recommend one of these. It'll make your life a lot easier, especially if your computer is, a little ways away from your table when you're trying to set your zero, or just things in general. Makes it really nice. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but these little round things back here, these are magnets. So with that, that one out there is a little green metal frame, so I can just stick it right on the front. I don't have to worry about hooking it on something or knocking it off or whatever. Works great. I love it. Let's see what else and I should mention too, Mark, I think you do this. You can also use certain game controllers, correct?
Yes, I have and use an Xbox 360 controller, and I use the genuine Microsoft Xbox 360 controller because I've heard of some people having problems with some of the third-party vendors. But there's a YouTube channel out there called The Guru Brew, and he did an excellent video on using the Xbox 360 controller with the CNC. And you can program all of the buttons to do whatever you want. I mean, you got the big bright red B button. That's my emergency stop. I use the start button to run the G code cycle start and control the axes with my joysticks, and it really works a treat. So
yeah, and that's probably a lot cheaper alternative than one of those pendants. What are those things, like 10 or 15 bucks?
They're about $20 in the stores, but you hit the thrift shops, you can find it for $3-4, but if you're not El Cheapo like me, you can pick them up on eBay for $15-20. You can get them on Amazon for $20 or just downtown. So You can program a lot of things into that controller. You can program it to where you have to pull one of the triggers to make your buttons work, just in case you bump it or something like that. So it's, which I have done. It's real fun to set the controller down and then all of a sudden it starts moving and you look over and something fell over on the controller. So, you know, it happens.
That's one thing. Well, I've already set it down now, but that's one thing I really like about this one is when you're moving it around, you have to turn this little knob to let it know what you're going to move, X, Y, Z, A, spindle, or the feed. And so I've learned, you know, that even, you know, like you say, you go to stick it with the magnet, you may bump that or something. So you just have to remember to take this and flip it off, and then nothing will move if you bump it. So,
right. So yeah, and there are several people over in the chat talking about having an Xbox 360 controller. You can use wireless. You can use the kind with the cable. Personally, I have the one with the cable, but that's only because I know me and my luck and my track record in using wireless. I'll leave it turned on and come back in 6 months, pick it up and the battery's dead, or I'll just flat out lose it. Take it in the house with me and think, oh, I got to take that back out into the shed, and never makes it back out there. So I use the kind with the cable.
yeah, I'm just not a fan of stuff where you got to have batteries.
Me too.
Because I'm terrible. You know, I've got that wireless keyboard, which I love that thing. But I don't know how many times I've gone out there and, you know, haven't been out there in a few days, and I go to turn everything on, and I go to turn that on, and I realize I left it on from the last time. I wish it had some kind of like light, blinking light or something to let you know that it's on. But it was pretty cheap.
Okay, Michael Chipser says something I did not realize. The Xbox 360 wireless turns itself off after 5 minutes of inactivity. That could be good or bad. So if I'm sitting there running G-code and it's an hour-long cycle, do I have to turn it back on to fire it up and start using it again? Well, anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'll stick to my USB cords. Sorry, that's
me too.
Another kind of fancy add-on or accessory or thing you might want to add to your machine, and you can build your own too, is these touch-off plates. I don't have one. I've never used one. I know a lot of folks use the Triple Edge Finder by Bill Griggs of CNC Router Tips fame. And from what I understand, he makes an excellent product. But I don't have one, and it to me is just one of those things that I'm never doing anything that precise that I have to, you know, have to have it dead nuts like that.
The one place I have a Triple Edge Finder and I use it religiously, and the one thing it really shines on is you're sitting there running along and suddenly the power goes out. And I can come back, I've shut everything off, and I can come back in a couple of days or a couple hours whenever the power comes back on, whenever, and reset my zero right there. If I don't touch anything else, if I don't move the piece of material, I can reset X, Y, and Z zero and pick up right where I left off. If you have a machine that is losing steps, you get it fixed. You can go back and repair, or can go back and pick up where you left off. It really takes all the guesswork out of finding X, Y, and Z zero. You will always be 100% spot on.
I've got one and I love it. It just, I just feel like I'm got everything just perfect when I use it. It's so and it's so easy. Yeah.
Yep.
I've recently started though setting my the 0 point for my workpieces in the center. So I actually haven't been using. I've got one that's not. It's a different gentleman that makes them.
Yep.
So I pretty much only use it now to zero my my z-axis.
And that's a valid point. So if you generally set your XY 0 from the center, a one-way touch plate that will just help you touch off your Z, that's all you basically need. I sometimes zero off of the center of the material, but more often than not, I set my XY 0 at the bottom left corner. So.
Yeah. Paul at, I think his name's Paul. Isn't it Paul? PNG?
Yes.
Custom Woodwork. He says, oh, well, I missed it. He was talking about a piece of paper is about 3,000. He says that's good enough for him.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, since I got that nicer pendant, I got where I don't even use a piece of paper. I just get down there because when you get it close, you're moving it like 1 thou at a time. So, you're basically just looking for the daylight to disappear behind the bit. So, like I said, I see a lot of guys over there going, "Oh yeah, you got to have a touch plate and all that." If you got one, you like it, that's great. I don't do anything that.
Yeah, I would say if you do a lot of 3D work, you probably would be better off getting one. But if you don't, it's a luxury. It's great. I mean, piece of paper will work just fine, but I do like pushing that button and taking a swig of coffee while it's doing its thing.
Yeah. Another thing that some people are adding, and I think they're probably getting more and more popular, or at least I'm seeing more and more of them, is different kind of spindles.
Right.
See lots of folks adding replacing their router with either an air-cooled or a water-cooled spindle. I have one of those, and I would have to say that is definitely the stuff, to put it in G-rated terms. I love mine. It's a 2.2 kilowatt water-cooled. I absolutely love that thing. And the only thing is, when if you're thinking about getting a spindle, keep in mind, first of all, keep in mind your machine. Make sure you don't get a spindle that's so big and heavy, because those things are heavy, that your machine can't hold it. Like if you got an X-carve, you're not going to put a 2.2 kilowatt spindle on there. Sorry, it's not going to happen. But so keep that in mind, the weight, and of course, you put that, and then you're going to add a dust shoe or something too. You're going to be putting more and more weight on there. So think about the weight, but also think about the power requirements. If you're in a garage or something and you don't have 220 and you don't want to run 220 out there, then you'll have to make sure you get one of the spindles that run on 110. And there are some. We did a show a while back where we talked about some of the different spindles and stuff like that. But I love mine. Is anybody here? I guess everybody here is just using routers and stuff, right?
So far, yes. There's not a doubt in my mind that a spindle is much, much better. A couple of people over there saying not as loud as a router. That's true. But you've got a whole heck of a lot more control with a spindle. Not only do you have control over your RPM, it's just so much of a smoother cut. I mean, just looking at the one Dave had when I had a chance to visit him back in Atlanta, that is really a slick operation there. I don't think there's anybody that would argue that a router is better than a spindle. It's cheaper and it'll get you started. But one of these days when I have money falling out of my pockets, I do plan on updating. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to cut everything off there for a second. My dog was trying to get in the show. But there's some pros and cons to spindles, and we've talked about them the other week. One of the nice things about using a router, particularly something that's very common, like a Porter cable or a DeWalt 611 or something like that, if it craps out and you don't have an extra set of brushes or whatever, and you really got a job you got to finish, you can run down to Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards or whatever it might be, and probably come back with something that's going to fit and finish that job for you. Whereas if with the spindle, it's a little bit different. If something quits working on the spindle, you know, not everybody's going to have a spare spindle on the shelf. So that's something to think about. But they are nice. They're much, you know, especially the water cooled that I have. It's a heck of a lot quieter, and there's no air blowing down through it like a router, and it blowing the dust all over every place.
TRS DOS 1 is wondering if you think a 110 volt 1.5 kilowatt spindle, do you think it's strong enough for cutting wood and acrylic?
Yeah, it should be.
I would think so too. Let's see how many horsepower that is.
1.5, that'd be about 2 horsepower.
Yeah, it should be right around there.
Which is about like a quarter table, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, 2.01 horsepower, which is more than a Porter Cable 690. The Porter Cable 890 is 2.25 horsepower, and that's what I use. But I think it's just my opinion. I think it may be too much router for what I do.
Yeah.
You know, the other point to remember with a spindle versus a router is your ability to control your speed. You know, you have better control of that. You'll be able to slow a spindle down a lot more than a router.
Yeah, especially a water-cooled spindle. Now, an air-cooled spindle, they recommend you don't go down below a certain RPM because then it's not cooling enough. But with a water-cooled spindle, you don't have to worry about that. You can slow it down to like 100 RPM or whatever. So
yeah, so if you're working, you know, aluminum and stuff like that, you know, that's probably something you want to look at as a water-cooled spindle.
Yeah, somebody, Jack Ulibus, I'm probably butchering your name, Jack. I'm sorry. He was asking a while ago what kind of coolant I use. I just have a 5-gallon bucket with water, and I've got I went down to one of the auto parts places and bought some RV antifreeze stuff and put about half a gallon in the 5-gallon bucket, and it works fine. No problems at all. So all right, another thing we've already kind of touched on a little bit is dust collection. You know, that's another thing. I think when people start getting their router, their CNC router build, and they first start cutting and stuff, you know, they're all excited to get the thing cutting and making stuff, and then they go, holy crap, these things make a mess. Especially if you're using a router with air on it, it'll make a mess. There's no doubt about it. You know, there's a lot of aftermarket dust shoes. Mike has one, and I know it works very well. I've just kind of made something, and it, you know, I had my buddy Jim, God love him. He gave me a, I think it's a Reliant dust collection thing. And so I've got it stuck over in the corner. It runs on 110. And I've got, you know, 4-inch PVC and then the 4-inch flex hose. And man, that thing that moves some air, buddy. I ain't kidding you. So, but I've just got kind of some stuff I rigged up, and it works well for me. So another thing I do, and I've been doing it for really quite a while, because when I'm out there in my shop, it's not really an enclosure, but it's some little Lexan, like 1/8 Lexan panels, and I just made like a little wood frame, and then they just kind of clip together and hold each other up. There's no top on it. There's no front on it. It's just kind of 3 sides surrounding the machine, and they probably stick up, I don't know, a couple of feet maybe. Yeah, probably a couple of feet. But like when I try to cut all my HDPE out there in my shop on that old Sidewinder router. And what I'll do is I'll take, since it's got the 3 sides, and that HDPE, it looks like it's snowed in there when you get done cutting that. That stuff goes everywhere. I just take like a piece of plywood and stick it on the front and take some clamps and clamp it and just let it go ahead and make the mess. But it kind of contains it inside that little enclosure, 3-sided enclosure. So that's another thing you can think. I mean, you could take big pieces of cardboard or something and make it like a little thing to do that if you had to try to at least contain the dust. Now that doesn't work too great for stuff like MDF or something like that, because that stuff gets in the air and it's going to float all over the top.
MDF is a tool of the devil.
Well, Dave, you got that dust collection hooked up yet?
What's that, Jerry?
Have you got the big dust collector hooked up now?
I do. Yes, sir, I do. And I took your advice. When you were here, you said, it won't work as well if I reduce it down. So I made it come all the way straight down. It's all 4-inch.
Working good?
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Good deal.
It's awesome. I love it. I really love it.
Yeah, I always recommend people put some kind of dust collection on their CNC. One, just the mess from a cleaning up standpoint, but then you're getting dust on whatever drive mechanism you're using for your CNC, any of your electronics. You're possibly getting all that dust on there. I mean, there's a lot of other second and third order effects that kind of go into that. And, whether you're using the dust collector, like Dave's using, or I still use the shop vac. I have the shop vac hooked to the same relay that turns on my router. So when I hit cycle start, dust collection's kicking on. I don't have to worry about, that relay. I mean, you can set it up with very minimal work and very minimal money to where you're not standing there holding a shop vac, unless you like doing that.
The main problem with running that shop vac like that and holding it down there, you can if it builds up static, it can arc over onto that bit. I've seen it. I've done it. And I grounded my shop vac hose for just that reason. I wasn't worried about dust explosion or anything like that. But I was concerned about arcing that over and either frying the router or worse, frying the Xylatex drive box. And in fact, if you go over to Xylatex website, he flat out says right there on the drive box that if you use a dust collector, ground the hose, because if it does arc over and fry that box, that is not covered under warranty. Yeah. And it will arc over. I've seen it. I've done it.
I always kind of give instructions to folks as far as the Xylatex kit is concerned. If you're not running some kind of dust collection, like a dust shoe or something like that, and you're just let it make a mess. Don't try to follow it around with that thing. Just let it make a mess, and when it's all done, shut the controller off, then vacuum it up, then turn your controller back on. Because if you try to mess around with that and you touch the wrong thing and it's not grounded, which if it's just your shop vac rolling around on the floor, it's not going to be. You could fry something you don't want to. So let it make a mess and turn it off and then suck it all up that way. Or, stop it in between and do it. I mean, you can get some of it. Like when I cut that HDPE, that stuff, when I'm cutting like a 24 by 24 inch piece of that, I mean, good Lord, it makes a big mess, even when only cutting a fourth of that sheet. So I can't let it really go the whole way, but I know enough to when I lean over where I put my board up there to hold all the stuff in, and I'm sucking up, I'm not getting it anywhere near something that I'm gonna, fry something.
And cutting plastic, routing plastic, it creates static electricity. So it's building more of a charge as you're cutting it.
Oh yeah,
So,
big time.
And people think I'm nuts. They, oh well, why did you go to all the trouble of grounding your hose? I don't have the problem anymore. I just don't have the problem anymore, and that's why. So
yeah.
Does it make a difference if every one of your outlets in your shop is grounded? Do you still have to ground the hose?
I still grounded the hose. Because it's still building up static electricity as it's sucking through. Just take a piece of PVC, just to place a piece of PVC pipe. You think plastic. Take a piece of cloth or silk, especially silk, and rub that piece of PVC. You'll get an arc off of the end of that piece of PVC. It will generate static.
It works.
Cutting PVC is the same way.
It works the same way if you're using like one of those cheap Harbor Freight belt sanders or any of the sanders. If you're running anything on that and you turn around, touch that table or anything metal, it'll zap you.
It sure will.
It's the same principle, and that's grounded. The machine's grounded. It's building up the static in the air.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's not. It's no different than any of these other upgrades we're talking about. A lot of people are like, "Oh, why go to this trouble for that?" For the relay thing, I've got it from several people. Really, how hard it is to reach over and click the button to turn your router on and stuff. Are you that lazy that you have to use a relay? Do it once and it's done.
Yeah. and it's like grounding my vacuum hose cost me $4.60. It was 18 gauge braided bare copper that I got down at an electrical supply place, and it was less than $5. I drilled a few holes in the ends of the shop vac hose, the hard plastic ends, ran the wire through the hose, and grounded it to the ground on the motor. So, it's a $20 shop vac. If it fries the shop vac, fine, so long as it doesn't fry the CNC or the router. It's less than $5.
Yeah.
But doing it the way you did it, you would never fry the vac because it would follow the natural ground through it back into the wall. So.
Yeah. Now, Mike, when he was mentioning that relay a while ago, I'm pretty sure, Mike, this is exactly the one you've got, because I think you sent me the link to it. And I jumped all over it and bought one. And of course, here it still is. I haven't done anything with it. Like so many of the things I buy from Amazon, they're just sitting around. I never get around to doing them. But yeah, this is the exact relay. And it was pretty cheap, I think. What was it? I don't know. I want to say $10 or something. Was it?
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and this one, I don't know if yours got this. Mine's got this big old heat sink
I bought
thing on it.
Heat sink.
Yeah. So I think, $10. So maybe I'll have Mike come by sometime and wire some of this stuff up for me.
What's funny is about everything Dave showed tonight sits in that one drawer on the CNC machine. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I buy it and I'm like, yeah, I'll put that on one day. I just throw it in that drawer.
You got all that free time?
What's that?
I said you got all that free time now. You ought to be able to get some of that done.
Yeah, I just goof off all day, man. That's all I do.
I will say that of all the stuff we're talking about, that relay was by far the best add-on to the CNC. When you can click cycle start and your shop vac and your router just fires up, and then when that G-code's done and it shuts off at the end, it's beauty.
Well, you know what?
I don't even know anything else more beautiful.
Anybody that would say anything about that, I guarantee you, they're probably one of these type people. When they go over to the miter box and they turn it on, their shop vac automatically comes on and it turns off when they let go of it. They too lazy to walk over and turn the switch on?
I've got my miter saw hooked up to a relay too for that.
Why do they got a miter saw? Are they too lazy to use a hand saw?
We figured that, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered, I think we've covered most of the stuff on my list. We've got one more thing that's, again, most of the stuff we're talking about, they're nice to have. They're not something you have to do. I can't think of anything we've talked about so far that you would have to have. A lot of the things are really nice to have. But one final thing I thought I would show, and I know Mike has one of these. I don't know if anybody else has one of these or not. I don't think so. Well, wait a minute. Becca may have one. One of these little lasers.
Yep, I got one.
Yeah, that you can add to your machine. This is a JTech Photonic 2.8 watt, or no, is it 2.8, I think.
Yep.
And it's a little bitty thing. I mean, this is the diode right here. And all this is the board and all the other stuff. And I just made this plate. This is like 3/8 half-inch HDPE, or no, 3/8 HDPE. And I just made it where everything will bolt onto that. And then this bolt pattern here fits my the bolt pattern I use on all the Z boxes. So, and for those of you who may not remember, I know some of you do. I know Mike knows, but I had gotten this and used one of these things for about 5 hours, and it quit working. And JTech, after some conversations, they sent me a new diode laser, and it's been sitting in the box out there like much of this other stuff that I have. And I never had, because I got so frustrated that it only lasted that long. And then when this one arrived in the priority mail box, the box looked like it had been run over by a truck. I really had doubts that this was going to work. But just so you know, Mike, this is the new one that I put on here, and I plugged it in and fired it up, and it's working. So I will be playing around with this, putting it on one of my demo machines probably. So, but yeah, this is a cool thing. Mike, you want to talk a little bit about your laser? I know you use yours quite a bit.
Yeah. I have that exact same one from JTech Photonics. It's their 2.8 watt laser. And obviously, because it's a low power diode laser, really the only thing you're going to be able to do is engrave wood on it. And there is a few other companies that have recently been, kind of selling very similar setups. I know there's one company, I think based out of Poland, that is also now selling, and there's a few different, power levels. I know Jay over at JTech Photonics, they're working on, I believe, a 6 watt laser that supposedly is going to be able to do up to stainless steel. So, but yeah, I mean, I set up my G code with VCarve. It's the quick engrave function, and yeah, I use it quite a bit on different projects, laser engraving.
Yeah, they're it just gives you another dimension, I guess, to some of the work you can do. Because especially, if you've got something that's really fine print or something like that, it's hard to V-carve it and make it where you can read it, and then you're going to have little, like the inside of the letter P or something chip out or something like that. But with a laser, you can really, really get some fine stuff on there, and it's great for that.
I want to know when you're going to do your tattoo with it, Mike.
Well, we'll see. I just with one of the upgrades I'm doing for this.
He's got Garage Works tattooed somewhere, I heard.
I don't think we can show that in this show.
That would have been fun seeing you get that one out.
With the laser add-on, I'm also adding a controller for the laser that basically takes a step and direction signal similar to what's used for controlling a stepper motor, and it turns those step and direction signals into basically power for the laser. So now right now, I basically only turn the laser on or off. I'll be able to do, basically turn it into, like be able to turn an image into a 256 bitmap kind of image and then do different shading with the laser. So really looking forward to getting that finished, wired up.
That'd be really cool.
Okay. That's all I had on my list. Has anybody thought of any other little bell and whistle that we might want to talk about?
Yeah, something that folks kind of seem to take for granted, and that is the collets for your router or your spindle. If you use a lot of small tools, you might want to go ahead and get an 1/8 inch collet, and there are several different suppliers out there. I got an 1/8 inch collet for my Porter Cable 890 from Elaire Corporation, and see, the collet I got, an 1/8 inch collet, was $22.50. You know, they're not expensive. Now I know you can use adapters and everything, but sometimes adapters just they just look a little hokey to me for some reason. I don't know. It's just me. I just don't want to trust them. But there are several suppliers out there. Precise Bits makes good collets. Elaire Corporation makes good collets, and something to think about anyway.
I also have, I think they call it the Monster Chuck, where you use a key to change your bits instead of the wrenches, and it is so cool to me because I hate getting my knuckles in there and banging them up, and this way you just have to turn an Allen wrench and it pops out and pops in, and it's very secure, and I love it.
Yeah, Georgia Bubba over there in the chat, that's my buddy Ed. He sent me a muscle chuck, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And I see him asking me if I'm using it or something. I'm not using it on my main deal because I got a spindle and it uses a different kind of chuck, but I think it's another one of those things that's out there in the drawer. I did use it a couple of times on my Porter Cable 690, I think, but I'm just not using that router right now. But I'll
now
well,
I've heard from a few people that it's a very good accessory to have.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It just is so easy to change a bit. I mean, you don't have to, just popping in and out and you're done.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than having to deal with the 2-wrench things. And one thing, since we're talking about collets and tightening bits and stuff like that, one thing I hate about the Walt 611 is that stupid button that you got to hold. You got 1 wrench in that button, and I don't like that. I'd rather use 2 wrenches. Any comments on that, Michael? I know.
I haven't had any issue with it. I like it. I pop it in there, and and there's jobs that I'm going between the 1/4 inch and the 1/8 inch collet and switching bits out. No issues.
Okay.
No issues here either.
Overachievers.
Yeah, I see Jack in the chat there says his button broke.
I've always just used 2 wrenches, and I don't know that I would own a router that I couldn't use 2 wrenches on.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I never looked. Is there room to use 2 wrenches on that 611 or not?
If you rip the button mechanism out, you can.
Oh.
There's a spindle lock on my Porter Cable 890, and I despise it. I've always used 2 wrenches.
Yeah. And Becca, I know you said something about busting your knuckles, but there's a certain way to loosen and tighten those things.
I know.
I've seen a video on it somewhere. But if you do it where you keep the 2 wrenches close together you'll never bust your knuckles or pinch your fingers or anything.
Oh, I probably would, no matter what.
But all right, anybody else got any other little gadgets or widgets they want to talk about?
We did have one question here from, well, first of all, Georgia Bubba wanted me to give Jerry a shout out. Says he's been watching that series on the lathe and he is just really impressed with it. So he wanted me to say that. And TRS DOS wants to know, this is totally unrelated, on the GarageWorks 4x4, how long of a lead screw is necessary for the Z-axis? He wants to know basically if he just orders 3 6-foot pieces of lead screw, will he have enough to do all of the axes?
Who's that?
That's TRS DOS 1. He's going to be ordering a GarageWorks 4x4 next month.
Yeah, if you get, because whenever I build one of those, if somebody orders and wants me to do the lead screws, I order 3 6-footers, and I always have drop from one of them because I can't remember. I've got a fixture I use to cut them, but the Z-axis is only like 10 5/8 long. So
Okay.
You'll have enough drop from a couple of the others to be able to get that easily.
Okay.
And get them while they're hot. Those 4x4s.
Seriously hot.
I was doing a Facebook Live today, and I said I guess I may have to have a Memorial Day sale or something. Maybe offer free shipping or something like that, because I got a bunch more on order, and I don't know how many I've got out there. I've still got 4 or 5 of them, I guess. But I'm getting all the conversion kits where folks can convert the single X-axis to the dual X-axis. I'm getting a bunch of that. I already got about half of those sold. They haven't even got here yet. So I've got crates built. So anybody out there, if you got one of those on order, it will ship just as soon as I can get them in. But it's probably going to be the end of next week. Could even be the week after that. I'm at the mercy of my fabricator. And I that's one thing I hate about the GarageWorks stuff, the Gatton CNC stuff. I do all that myself, so I'm in control of everything, But with the GarageWorks stuff, I got a fabricator, and then I got to be powder coated. So, I'm at their mercy, whatever lead time. And I'm kind of small potatoes as far as they're concerned. They got a lot bigger customers than me, so it's not like I can, pitch a fit and say I want my stuff tomorrow. They just laugh at me. So, but anyway, I'll have some of those. And like I said, maybe I'll do a offer free shipping if you buy it on Memorial Day or something like that. I'll think about that, and we'll talk about that. One other thing I was going to mention too, I mentioned it on the Facebook Live thing today. We all know about dumpster CNC. We've all talked about that, and here's the, when you bought one of the Gatton CNC kits, you would always get this little pocket that fit one of Dumpster CNC's Acme nuts. That's one of theirs. Perfect. And of course now the IAM service ones has that bigger flange and it doesn't fit. So I cut a few kits today, and I've changed the program where now it's got the, if I can find it, got the bigger pocket for the flange. And so I'll be cutting them like that for whoever knows how long. Hopefully Tim can get back up and going and get back in business here pretty quick. But the guy, and I don't know if have I mentioned this on the show or not. I don't think I have. The guy's name is Fred Smith at IM Service. They're up in Michigan. I talked with him through emails, and I told him, I send folks, your way to buy these things. They need 4 couplers and 4 Acme nuts. So he's put together a thing, and I've got links on both the websites. I don't know, it's probably on Facebook somewhere. But anyway, you click on it and it'll go straight to it. It's called a Gatton bundle. That's what he called it. But you just order one of those and you'll get 4 Acme nuts and 4 of these couplers. Anything else, guys? Any other questions out there?
I'm getting ready to post a link in the chat of the YouTube chat over here for the GoFundMe to try to help out Tim over at Dumpster CNC. Remember, folks, this is their basic living expenses is what we're talking about.
I got a link down there in the description.
Okay.
So if they lose it in the chat, it scrolls up or whatever.
Sure.
It's right there in the description.
Okay. And no donation is too small, folks. And thank you to everybody who has donated. We really appreciate it.
Mentioned this on the show last week, and we got a few folks to donate, and I appreciate that. And then I don't think anybody's donated all week, so
yeah,
that's why I'm
kind of hit
again. You know, the guys still. I mean, good Lord, man, the guys. If you look at those pictures, his house, his shop, everything just wiped out. I mean, his shop completely gone, and he's still digging out. You know, having to get his equipment. I mean, just imagine if something like that happened to you.
And
So,
spread the word, and sharing the GoFundMe also helps.
And
yeah,
think about it, y'all.
Donate, just share the link. You know, that helps as well.
Mm-hmm. And when you're looking at those pictures of his shop, remember that's their livelihood. That's their income. That's their source of income that they're digging through. So
and like I said last week, you know, that when I got home back from Texas and got up that next day and started looking at those pictures, that really hit home for me because I'm in the same boat, you know.
Yeah.
Tornado come through here and wipe out my house, my garage, and my shop. I'm done.
Yep.
So I'd be done for a while anyway. There'd be safety orange all over Henry County.
You can't be doing that now.
One good thing, I might have a bit easier time finding my parts out in the fields because they'd stick out like a sore thumb with that safety orange. But hopefully I don't ever have to do that.
That's Rocky.
Hopefully you don't, but if you do, remember, just stand very still.
Yeah. Doing your short notes. Where's that eject button, Mark? All right. Well, I guess we're at the top of the hour here.
Yeah, I guess just one little note, you know, talking about all these add-ons, head over to the forum. There's a link both on the Gatton CNC page and on the GarageWorks page. But, you know, great group of people over there, and we're all kind of pooling all of our lesson learns and stuff like that. And if you have any questions about, you know, wanting to add on a laser or limit switches or add 7 different axes to your machine, there's someone over there that'll help you. You know, I've been trying to, as I post, you know, some of these upgrades I'm doing, trying to post things on whether it's a wiring diagram or you know, pictures. So definitely get over there. If you haven't signed up for it, sign up.
Yeah, we've got, I think, when I checked earlier today, about 179 members now in the community forum.
I just put a link over in the YouTube chat for the community forum, and there is one in the description for this video.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you know, we have the Facebook groups, and those are really cool too, but the reason I did the forum is because it's easier to go back and search for something, and I don't know, it's just a whole lot easier to organize the information that's put over there.
And it's searchable.
Yeah, it's searchable. And I really want to thank Doug Green for you know, kind of busting the thing there and telling us what he wants to see in show topic. Anybody out there that's watching, you got something you want us to discuss or demo or whatever, you know, go to the forum and there's a category I think set up for show topics. Just let us know what you want us to do, and we'll get on it.
And remember, the forums are not just for your machines, right? That anybody from has any machines,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they're not just for not just for the Garage Works or the Gatton, although that's probably the majority of folks over there now. And probably always will be, I'm guessing, but
also remember, guys, that we try to keep this on the home hobby side of the house. We're not talking about production machines. We're not talking about big professional machines. So, but yeah, just about anybody with a home hobby, interested in home hobby CNC, come on over to the community forum and sign up.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of good folks over there. People posting some awesome pictures, and
Oh, yeah.
When I get up in the morning, when I turn my computer on, other than checking email, which I usually do first, the second thing I do is I go to the forum and I always click on that latest topics and see what the latest conversations are and what people are talking about. And it's a good bunch of folks over there. I got to tell you, this whole CNC community thing just blows me away, because the majority of folks, and you got one or two, I suppose, not in none of our groups, but they're just so willing to help. And because people I see it every day on Facebook. Somebody will post a question, or how do you do this, or my machine's doing this, and usually by the time I get around to seeing it and try to comment, there's already a half a dozen or more folks already telling them the same thing I would have told them. So it's just amazing.
Let me give a shout out to TJ from TJ's Woodworking over there for trying to get everybody to give us thumbs up.
Yeah. Tim Guba is saying 4th axis demonstrations. Are you talking about my rotary axis? I could set up a demonstration out in the shop with that if anybody want to see that.
Yeah, since especially that's one of the next projects I'm working on.
I've got a little off subject. Let's see. Are we building any new woodworking tools other than CNC?
That's for you. Are you building any new woodworking tools other than CNC?
Not woodworking tools. I have, believe it or not, I am actually, all right, are y'all sitting down? I'm actually doing a couple of projects, and I'm actually filming them, putting it, I haven't done a real YouTube video other than these shows in probably months. I do an update video or something like that, talk about a giveaway or something, but I mean a real project video. And I don't, it's going to take me a while, because I've really found that I almost don't even like doing videos anymore, because of the extra time it takes to set up the camera and get the angle, and and then you shoot it and you go back and you look at it and you go, oh crap, I didn't turn the microphone on, or you got to go do it again. It just takes about 3 or 4 times as long to do anything. And I like just getting out there and doing it. But since I haven't done anything in so long, I'm doing a project. I'm just shooting a bunch of video. Take the camera out there and set it up, shoot it, and I'm just throwing it on the computer. And when I get the whole thing done, it's going to be way too long for just one video. It'll probably be 4 or 5, but I'm not going to release any of them until I get all that done. So and it's not a tool, but there is some other projects I want to do. I have got to build a miter saw station of some type in my shop and get rid of, I just got too much junk out there. Yeah, I mean, it's not organized. I need to build. Mike Fulton just did a really nice miter shop thing. I like his.
Yep.
I just need to do something like that. But any other Anyone done two-sided cutting? That's what I mentioned. We might talk about that some next week when we do the talk about painting and finishing and stuff you do after you cut it on the CNC, and even talk about stuff you need to do to prep before you do it on the CNC. But we'll talk about all that.
Some people think that finishing is torture, and I just don't see it that way. That's when I get my moment of zen. I mean, there's nothing wrong with finishing. It's all part of the process.
I don't like finishing.
And that's why you're way over there.
Sandpaper hurts my hands.
Yeah, I don't like finishing isn't my strong point. I guess because I'm impatient. I don't like to wait for stuff to dry.
I'm in the same boat as you. I would have way more videos up if it wasn't such a pain to do videos. Yeah.
And I think, a lot of the trolls that comment on your videos and stuff, and well, not just yours, Joe, I'm not talking to you, but just, trolls that comment about videos and stuff, and and then you go click on their thing and they don't even have any videos, they have no freaking idea what it takes, the extra time and all that to shoot videos. And that's one reason why I haven't done it, because between the Gatton CNC, the GarageWorks CNC, the show on Saturday night, I just haven't had time to, get out there and set up a camera and go through all that stuff you got to go through. So
be a troll magnet. Yeah, I had a guy troll me hard, and I went and looked at his channel. He had one video up, and he was really excited about how he took his dog kennel and turned it into a recycling thing for his leaves.
Well, everybody needs a hobby. I got a big bunch of people over here saying that I'm strange for liking finishing. Folks, if you're going to spend the time to make something that looks good, shouldn't you spend a little time following through at the end? I've seen a lot of projects that looked really good until they started putting on that finish, and then it was just like, oh.
That's why we don't like finishing.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to talk about that next week.
Okay.
That's going to be a whole show on it.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole show talking about that.
Okay, I'm a weirdo. I like finishing.
No,
like I said,
Mark Mertzke.
Yeah, Mark Mertzke.
We'll talk about cutting on two sides and stuff like that. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. Anyway, I guess I don't have anything else. Is there? I don't see any other questions over there.
Nope.
I guess we'll make this one a wrap. Sorry again for the technical difficulties. One day we'll get this right. This is only like our 53rd show, so we'll get it right. Seems like the longer I go, the worse I get, though. Can't seem to.
Gonna have to get you a computer dedicated to the show.
I guess, I thought about that. That spare bedroom I have back there, the one that has the least amount of junk in it. I thought about just taking that bed out of there and setting up the stuff for the show, and that way I just leave it set up all week instead of leaving it here in the living room. Anyway, well, I guess if nobody else got any questions, I want to thank everybody for, obviously, you guys for being on the panel and putting up with me. I know we had 100 people watching at one time, so I still can't believe we get folks to tune in and watch us like we do. Appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget, tomorrow's Mother's Day. Get out there and buy Mama lunch or dinner or something. And I guess that's it. Anybody else got anything?
Get that thumbs up on your way out, or TJ's coming to your house to do it for you.
Yeah,
TJ's a thumbs up animal.
So we're good there.
TJ is a thumbs up animal.
Yeah, he is. Appreciate you, TJ. All right, we're out. Everybody have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Everybody have a great weekend.
Be safe.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Hit that thumbs up on the way out the door.
2 of them.